what really makes the sport stand out is the team aspect, is racing with a friend, is racing with a partner, maybe racing with a complete stranger that you just like link up with on race morning. Like that's what really sets the sport apart from anything else that's out there outside of adventure racing or some sort of, I don't know, pickup basketball game or something like that. But like moving through nature in an endurance fashion with a friend or a complete stranger, like that's really the magic of swimrun. And one of our favorite pieces is the partner aspect. So yeah, you shouldn't race solo first.
Welcome to the Low Tide Boyz, a Swimrun podcast. I'm Chip.
I'm Chris, and this is episode 271 of the show. We've got an interesting episode for everyone this week. We are doing our top 5 worst swimrun advice nuggets. So these are, if you're out there new to the sport, kind of curious what's going on, you've probably have heard a lot of people giving you some really random advice. So we are going to...
Us included.
Us included, probably. Yeah, so we're giving you our top 5 pieces of worst swimrun advice that we've ever heard.
Don't do these things.
So don't do these things. So this is kind of like a bizarro episode, but we're going to use these as ways of talking about all the stuff that we usually talk about in a new way.
Yeah, just reformatting. Also inspired by Lars's, Catalina t-shirt, the upcoming Oslo Catalina. Dug this one out, vintage.
Yeah,
2020.
I don't know where mine is.
Well, there's one in between the Low Tide Boyz. That's good enough.
So before we get on with the main event here, wanted to share some news. So the Bellingham Swimrun registration's open. It's happening on June 1st this year. We went last year, had an awesome time.
It was a great race.
We talk about supporting your local races. So if you're anywhere in the Pacific Northwest or just interested in traveling in the Pacific Northwest for a lovely local swim run, can't recommend this race highly enough. If you need anything else to get you off the fence, you can use the code Low Tide Boyz, easy to remember, to save 15% off of registration. So a really good friend, Brent and Annie, put on this race. Annie you might remember from Gear Talk. Brent you might remember from Orcas and Attila USA. So awesome event. Can't recommend it highly enough. We'll be there again.
Lot of Orcas vibes on the Bellingham Swimrun, which makes a lot of sense. So if you think Orcas might be in the cards for you this year, this is a great race to kind of understand what are the trails like, what are some of the swims going to be like, what's the general climate going to be like. You get a lot of taste of that. And we were able to kind of go in and out of, we flew into Seattle. It wasn't too far of a little drive. Hotel was relatively
like 100
cheap.
miles or something.
Yeah, it was pretty. Like it was a pretty good little, 1 or 2 day trip for us. So yeah, really great race. And yeah, as we've always mentioned, like support those local swim runs. And yeah, check out the Bellingham Swimrun.
Yeah. So are we ready to get into this?
If you're doing the Bellingham Swimrun, don't do any of the things we're about to
Don't do anything we're about to say.
Do not do them.
All right, so number one, and we're just kind of making these up, everyone, in case that wasn't already obvious to people listening or watching at home. So the first piece of swimmer advice is you should definitely drill holes in your shoes.
This is something that does come up. People are like, oh, should I drill holes? There's a lot of brain power sent out to like, I think my shoes are going to get real. I understand running in those kind of soggy shoes is not fun, but it's just sort of part of the game with swimrun. Drilling holes, kind of not really a good use of your time.
Yeah, and just not something that we've seen that's really necessary. So you can get shoes. So our advice for swimrun shoes, something with a very light upper, synthetic, that doesn't have a bunch of padding, that'll just collect water like a sponge. The thing about drilling holes in shoes, yes, that might help them drain, but you also can get in. So detritus can actually get in your shoe. So you're thinking, oh, it's going to drain water. You might just get a lot of sand and, who knows what kind of stuff in there. So we recommend not draining. We've never drilled holes in our shoes. We've never had a problem 20 some odd swim runs later.
Yeah.
So if someone's telling you to drill holes in your shoes,
stay away.
Stay away.
Drill a hole in your pool buoy, though.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
DIY that mess.
Yeah. Go to YouTube if you need to know how to do that.
Yes. Check out, obviously head to the YouTube channel. Okay. Won't be drilling holes in my shoes. Just stick to your trail shoes that you know and love. A nice little test that you can do is the bucket test. Fill a 5-gallon bucket up. Take your shoes in there, submerge them for a couple minutes, put them on, go for a run up and down the block, and you'll kind of get a sense how much water they retain or not. But
if you want to get scientific, you can get a scale and weigh them and stuff.
Yeah, but leave the 1/8 bits in your toolbox and save the Makita. You don't need to fire that thing up.
pretty good.
I was trying.
1/8, huh?
Yeah. 1/8 or whatever, 2 millimeters or something. Okay. What's the next thing we shouldn't do?
Well, you definitely shouldn't do what 99% of swim runners are doing. Now,
yes,
this is a little bit of a pet peeve for us. We get questions all the time. We love getting messages from people. And usually it's something of like, hey, I want to do something really counterintuitive to what everything I'm seeing people do.
Yeah.
So, hey, if you're new to the sport or want to progress in the sport, you don't need to overthink what 99% of swim runners are doing.
What are some common examples? One that comes to mind is if I swim with fins on, I'll be a lot faster. Or let me take my shoes off and put them into my backpack. I'll swim and then my shoes won't get wet. Then I'll put them on and then I'll go run. And that is
or
just
like,
not happening.
I'm not going
in
to use
practice.
paddles in a pool buoy, but I'm still going to swim with my shoes on. Or I'm going to use a super tiny pool buoy or just swim fins because I've never used a pool buoy before. Again, there's lots of room to iterate in the sport of swim run. You can definitely express yourself in a bunch of different ways with your kit choices and whatnot. But if you're new to the sport and you want to progress in the sport, most of the people have figured it out. And that's like, use as big a pool buoy as you can handle, use paddles that are appropriate for your strength and stroke, obviously goggles, and swim with your shoes on.
Without holes in them.
Without holes in them.
Just your shoes as is. It's totally going to be fine. Yeah. The fins is kind of like, you're trying to do like 4D chess on Swimrun. Like, if I do the fins and take, it's just go with the flow, literally.
Yeah. Just because you could doesn't mean that you should. And, if you think, if you're using fins, that means you're actually engaging your legs, which means you're not going to recover for the run. So, one of the great things about Swimrun is you're actually recovering your legs during the swims. So then you can keep running anyway.
So higher clip
and repeat.
Yes.
Yeah. So don't do that, people. Okay. Third bad piece of swimrun advice is you don't need to test out your kit before race day.
AKA do something new on race day. Don't do something new on race day. Yeah, I think kind of to the previous point we made, the kit in Swimrun is a little bit unique. It's certainly not like something that you would see at a triathlon or on a trail run. It's definitely unique. And we have found it takes a little bit of repetition to kind of get an understanding of how it best works for you. Now, if you want to do something a little bit different and, put your pool buoy up a certain way, you will learn how to do that and sort of what works by practicing. And, we recommend practicing. You can put your stuff on and do it in your living room, like while you're watching TV. If you want to kind of like lay on the floor, get up, do like a little transition. Or
you want to impress your friends at home. No worries.
Yeah, you want to scare your kids and wife or partner. Or if you ideally would be going out to a body of water and do kind of little mini swim run transition practice. We actually will do this. Yep. I think usually kind of to start the season, we have our Rust Buster swim runs. We might go out for 90 minutes and we will actually spend 10, 15, 20 minutes of that first swim run doing like a transition practice. Well, we'll just run, maybe 100 meters down, get in, swim, get out, and just do that for 10, 15 minutes. Just kind of get some reps, bust the rust on sort of what your transition like.
Yep.
Ooh, do I like my goggles on before, or do I keep them on and then move my pull buoy and then take them off after my paddles? Like figuring that kind of stuff out or getting back into that familiarity is really helpful. So definitely practice with your kid.
Seriously. And Swimrun's the type of thing, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of moving pieces. There's a lot of stuff you need to kind of keep on top of, not the least of which is like having a partner and making sure that he's okay or she's okay or whatnot. But it's about like, there's all these little moving pieces with the kit. So the more that you can kind of understand your kit, understand how you're going to cap down, understand where you're going to put your gels, like it's literally the point with me where I have a specific place where I put my caffeine gels, specific place where I put my other gels, place where I put my trash. So I just kind of know where everything is. That way I don't have to think about it. And the only way you can really sort that out for yourself is practicing with the kit on, doing transitions, maybe even putting on like a bib, because if you're gonna race with a bib, it's helpful to kind of just experience that as well. So it isn't like, I'm totally comfortable in my swimrun kit, but I've never done it with a piece of cloth on top of it. Now you got to sort that out.
Makes a lot of sense. And another great place to do this is before the race. There usually be some sort of swimrun shakeout swimrun or a clinic or whatever. Sometimes Team Envol is putting that on. Marcus Barton and Trista and Amy, Team Adorkables are out there the day before. We always show up to these things as well. And that's a great place to kind of get your gear in, figure your tether out, especially with the partner. You might have it figured out in your living room, but when you guys, we hook up for the first time, oh man, we never thought about this. So you can figure all that stuff out in the clinic or shakeout swim run the day or two before.
Yeah, certainly don't do it, on race day.
Yeah.
All right, number 4 is you can just rely on aid stations for all your fueling and hydration needs.
Yes, this is just bad, poor advice for any bad on all accounts. But I think this is bad advice if you're doing a triathlon, a trail, almost any endurance event. This is not have a plan, people. But for swimrun specifically, I think what Chris, I'll speak for us. In the past maybe 2 or 3 seasons, I feel like we've really started to take more control over fluids, specifically bringing a soft flask, filling with water, because the aid stations and swim runs are dictated by the nature and the course. It might not be, after a really big run or a really big swim, there's an aid station I can refill water. It might not be there. Right. So you kind of got to take things into your own hands and, take the bull by the horns a little bit on this one, and really have a plan out. That plan could be as detailed on your paddles. You're writing and circling in your swim run hieroglyphics, like, hey, this is where the aid station is, supposed to be. Hopefully, most of the time they're there. But yeah, to kind of have that plan. Hey, how often are you fueling? When are you drinking? All these sort of things. Yeah,
and I think along with that is again, you want to practice this stuff, and you have very specific nutrition requirements. Hey, find out what's on the course. Find out if something you can tolerate. If you're doing something like the World Championship, can you handle chocolate balls?
I can.
It's an important thing to kind of have sorted out, 8 hours into a race. But I think along with that as well is, hey, this is another thing where, as Chipper mentioned, the course kind of dictates where aid stations can be. So it might be super intuitive that there'll be an aid station after a long run or before a big swim or something like that. It just might not be possible to get the material on there. So it's not that the race directors are trying to destroy you. It's just like some of these things just aren't logistically feasible. So you need to be agile and you need to be prepared for that stuff. So for us, if we're trying to take, for example, our typical plan is to try to take 30 grams of carbs every 20 minutes. Obviously, you can't do that in the middle of the swim, and obviously, it's not going to time up perfectly at an aid station. So we usually, have enough gels to kind of be self-sufficient on some level, and then use the aid stations to supplement. And we know what's on there, and if it's, we have our go-to products, and we have our plan Bs and plan Cs. But certainly, we never rely just on the aid stations, because again, you might. If you're bonking 2 miles from an aid station, that aid station isn't doing shit for you. No offense.
Yeah. And many of, there's not enough quantity of gels for people to like, hey, I need like 2 or 3 gels right now. We have, it's sort of a limited quantity sometimes at the aid stations, because it's all they can get out there to some of these, sometimes pretty remote areas, or it's just a big igloo like Gatorade tub with water that's just stashed by a rock, and like that's all there is. Those things do really save you when you are in a bad way, but if you have your own stuff, you can kind of breeze through some of these things.
And that's a little thing to note as well. Most of these races are going to be cupless, so you have to bring your own collapsible cup. If you're doing a Attila USA or Attila European race, they provide you with a collapsible cup, but you should have one. We always race with an empty flask. And a pro tip there is, if you know that you're a salty sweater or something like that, we actually pre-fill our flasks with dry electrolyte solution. So then when we know we're going to deploy it, we fill it at the aid station, shake it up, and then you have yourself, everything you need from an electrolyte place to replenish that. Because in swim run, even though it's cold and you might be, it's hard to tell how much you're sweating because you're running in a wetsuit and things like that. So just because you're, don't feel like you're sweating doesn't mean you're not leaching electrolytes in your suit.
Great point. We like the precision fuel and hydration stuff.
Big
1500s.
Fans. Yes. We use precision fuel and hydration. If you want to try those products, we can't recommend them highly enough. Use the code LOWTIDE2025 and you can save 15% off your order at precisionfuelandhydration.com.
Absolutely. Also, tons of content here, and go check out Precision Fuel and Hydration. They have great content, how to fuel for all your events, and they also have swim run content, which is also why we love them. And they're just great blokes. Can we call them blokes?
I think we can call them blokes. Okay. Yeah, they're also the nutrition hydration sponsor for the Attila USA races. So if you want to practice and train with what's going to be on the course, it's also a good product. Okay, our last one, number 5, is you should race solo first. which is like, what are you talking about? Anyone can do a solo race. While we love our solo racers and we think that, hey, if you can't find a partner, you should still come out and
We've
do
been
Swimrun.
solo racers as well.
We've been solo racers. Well, I've tried to be a solo race.
Oh,
hasn't worked out yet.
Solo race.
Chipper's done solo races. What really makes the sport stand out is the team aspect, is racing with a friend, is racing with a partner, maybe racing with a complete stranger that you just like link up with on race morning. Like that's what really sets the sport apart from anything else that's out there outside of adventure racing or some sort of, I don't know, pick up basketball game or something like that. But like moving through nature in an endurance fashion with a friend or a complete stranger, like that's really the magic of Swimrun. And one of our favorite pieces is the partner aspect. So yeah, you shouldn't race solo first.
It levels up the whole experience. And this is from a performance angle. So if you are looking to like get the most out of yourself, like how fast can I run and swim? Doing it with the partner, I have found, in my opinion, there's an extra, there's some extra in there that I give to Chris.
Yeah,
or he gets from me, or whatever.
We were just talking about this before, where it's like, there's this. You're more than the sum of your parts because you don't want to be the weakest link. You want to be there for your partner. He or she wants to be there for you. So your joint level kind of is higher.
1 + 1 is 3.
Yeah, exactly. You're able to do more together than you are by yourself because you're looking out for your partner. Or you're trying to make sure that you're not, dragging ass if that's how you feel or whatever. And hopefully both of you aren't feeling bad at the same times. So, if you're having a low moment, hopefully your partner's doing well and vice versa. And, it all works out in the end. But again, if solo is all you got, please come out and try it. And then you'll be on the search for a partner for sure. Yeah. But if you really are looking for a new experience and this is going to be your first swim run, highly, highly recommend that you don't listen to the advice of racing solo first.
Yeah. Find a partner. It'll be more fun.
Yeah. So we have a bonus
and a story. Bonus and an amazing story.
Oh my God, so good.
Okay. Well, you've been reading the tips off. I'll take this one.
Go for it.
Okay. Whatever you do, don't take swim run advice from a person who's nicknamed the Polar Bear.
Yes. Story time. So at the 2023 Untitled Swimrun Championships, we are breaking bread, having fika after the race with a bunch of friends from California Swimrun. And I'm talking to this lady who did her first swim run with a dear friend of ours, the godfather of swimrun, Andy Hewitt himself.
Wow.
And, I'm chatting her up, how'd the race go, all this stuff. She's like, I was freezing. And I was like, what was your favorite part? And she's like, well, Orna, because that's the only time I got to warm up. And I was like, you were freezing that whole time until Orna? Like, I was like, what suit did you wear? She's like, I just wore what Andy told me to wear. And I was like, well, what was that? And she was like, a big air. And so my immediate response was, what? And Chipper is actually talking to the Godfather at the moment. I'm like, Chipper, stop what you're. I got to tell you something right now.
Hold on, Andy. 1 second. Chris has to tell me something.
So I tell him, and Chipper's like, what? So we love Andy, but that was, as far as we're concerned, swimmer malpractice.
that was bad news.
That was bad advice. To tell someone to wear a big air at the World Championship. I mean, that's a very individual choice. And if you're the polar bear, no problem. But if you're just like a normal person, that was a huge mistake. So that's actually the story that kind of got us the idea of do this kind of bizarro episode. But we love Andy, but it just goes to show like there is some bad advice out there. And please don't commit swimmer malpractice by telling your friends to do like weird activities on race day.
I mean, I think a lot of people, cold sensitivity is really, it's very individualized, right? What I say is cold is one, just my opinion. Two, it could be not cold to Chris. So when you're giving sort of wetsuit advice, I think, Arc makes great wetsuits and great swim run equipment. They have a great little chart that kind of shows like, here's our most sort of thermal warmer suits. Here's our more like summer suits that you will be cooler in. Plan accordingly.
Yes. And, global advice would be like, hey, if you're going to have one suit, maybe don't index on like the super summer light suit. Maybe be somewhere in the middle. And if you're kind of person who runs, you run cold, well, index on some of the more thicker, and thicker being relative because all the arc suits are really thin and easy to run in. And so anyway,
those are 5 plus a bonus worst swim run nugget tips. I'm sure you all have heard some as well. So if there's any that you've gotten over the years that plan to be poor advice, send those our way, and we'll do a part 2 of this episode at some point in the future, I'm sure.
Yeah, and shout out to everyone out there who's still rocking with the tiny pool buoys. You do you. It's all good. Yeah.
This pool buoy right here, if you're on YouTube, you're seeing this is what I used at Casco Bay 2018.
Yes.
This pool buoy here, and how far into it I was like, this thing is killing me. I
almost wanted to put mine in the bin.
Yeah, we wanted to throw in the trash.
Yeah, but hey,
here it is. It lives on.
It lives on in posterity. So that's our show. Again, we want to do something a little zany, a little bizarro, but we're giving you bad advice so that you don't actually do this on race day.
Opposite.
And if you're racing, if you're doing your first swim run this year, definitely hit us up. We have a lot of information on our YouTube channel. If you want to learn how to transition appropriately, we have videos for that. You want to learn how to cab up and cab down, which is when you take the top of your wetsuit down for long runs and stuff like that. If you have a new pool buoy and you're trying to jerry rig it so that you can wear it around your waist, we have videos for that, and nutrition.
Training,
we have all kinds of stuff. Gear,
anything swim run. We've likely covered it in some way, shape, or form. If not, it's coming.
Yeah, let us know if there's something that you don't find that we should do. Sorry for not doing that. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll see you out there then. That's it for this week's episode. Thanks so much for listening to the show. Make sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and leave a rating or review, since that's the best way to help other people discover the show and the sport of swim run.
Check out our website, lowtideboyz.com. That's boys with a Z, for swimrun resources, including gear guides, tips, how-to videos, and so much more. Make sure to check out our meme page at The Low Tide Boyz on Instagram. If you have any questions or suggestions for the show, send us a DM or email us at lowtideboyz@gmail.com.
We'd like to thank Riding Easy Records for our show music, and of course our wives for their support and tolerance of our swim run and other activities.
Lots of activities.
Lots of activities.
Finally, you can support our efforts on Patreon. Until next time, get out there and go for a swim.
Then a run.
And then a swim.
Then another run.
Then another swim.
Then run some more.
Just keep going.
Let's go.
And then stop at some point because,
And fuel. Don't forget to fuel.
Gotta fuel too.
Of course, yes.